Here we're with Michael Mercer at Canton Barbell to demonstrate the activation and mobility exercises. First, we have half kneeling hip flexor stretch. Notice that Mike is in a neutral position with his back, not too arched and also not slumped. Now he's got his leg underneath him as he squeezes his glute. If that's not enough of a stretch, he can then glide forward, and the way he can make this more challenging is by raising his arm, which now also lengthens his lat to get an extra stretch along that whole side. The next exercise is the lower abdominal progression. Now he's going to lift one leg, stabilizing, exhaling, and lifting the other leg. And then one leg down and the other leg down. Notice how we see little to no motion in his torso as he's doing this. To make this easier, rather than lifting one up and then the other up, he'll lift that one up and put it back down before then lifting the other leg up. Next, Michael is going to show us a bridge with bent knee fallout. So first we want you to use your glutes to drive yourself up into the air, using your abdominals to make sure your back is not doing the work. Then you're going to hold this position as you rotate one leg out to the side. So we shouldn't see you drop any further as you go. We also should not see your pelvis roll side to side. So how do you know if you're doing that? A, you feel this in your back. B, you feel this in the front of your hip instead of in your butt cheek. Next, we have the clamshell. Michael is laying on his side with his legs at an angle and his feet back at a level that is about the same as his butt. From here, once again, he's going to engage his abdominals as he rotates his leg up and outward, keeping his feet together. He should only feel this in his buttock and not in his back or in the front of his hip. Also, he shouldn't be feeling it in the knee. Try to relax, maybe do some foam rolling if you're feeling it in your knee. Now we really see that Michael's making a point to stay forward as he rotates his hip up. He's also using his abs to not let his back roll and then falling back to laying on that bottom butt cheek. Instead, he's staying more forward as if he's laying on his front pocket. Next, we have quadruped rocking. He's using his abs to stop his back from moving. And now we see him rocking just back and forth, going as far as his hips will allow him to. Also making sure to not feeling any pinching or grinding in his hip. Notice how his back stays in the same position the whole time, rocking as far back into his hips as he feels comfortable, then returning to that same starting position. Next, we have reverse tees. We see Michael with his back on the wall, and now he's got his lower abdominals pulled in to keep his back flat, and now he's pinching his shoulder blades as he rotates his arms around his rib cage. Notice how his forearms are straight up and down, which means that he's using his rotator cuff. He's squeezing his shoulder blades as he goes back to the wall, holding that position briefly before returning. Now we have wall slides. Michael is leaning with his arms resting on the wall, and he's using the wall for assistance, not resistance. We see him using his shoulder blades as he pushes his arms up the wall rather than pulling his shoulder blades up the wall using his arms. You also see how his shoulders stay up as his arms come back down, making sure that the scapula is lowering the arm instead of the shoulder blade just dropping. You should feel this in the serratus muscle, which is in your armpits and also in the middle of your shoulders. Next, we have shoulder external rotation. And now he's just spinning his arm on the wall, bringing his knuckles up to the wall, pushing into it briefly. He should really be engaging his rotator cuff. He's also actively holding his shoulder blade in this position, making sure that he's not working the arm muscles and instead just working that rotator cuff. Lastly, we have calf raises. Michael is doing this at a wall, but not leaning on the wall. We see him driving out of his heels, coming straight up, making sure not to rotate his feet too much inward or outward. Also see how he started in a neutral position, and we can see his calf activating and squeezing both on the inside of the leg and the outside of the leg. Of course, you should feel this in both legs, and you should feel it on the inside and the outside. If this gets too easy, you could go to a one-legged variation.